early days, only a spark to light my way.
Good afternoon, Huntington Beach. So this is a video from a new group called Surf City United. We are a group of center-right folks in town that are deeply concerned that the politics of our town is going terribly wrong and are determined to right the ship. Center-right voters represent 65% of all Huntington Beach voters. We are the majority. Huntington Beach City Council has stopped working for the citizens. It obeys the special interests that paid for their seats. What we will be doing going forward is putting out videos that explain the problems with the Huntington Beach City Council agendas in detail, warning folks exactly where the problems are. So we need to have a short history of Huntington Beach to catch up. This first video is going to be a bit long. The ones in the future will be much shorter, but we need to get to a place where we understand exactly how we got to this place. So in 2014, the Chamber of Commerce purchased 3 spots for Barbara Dalglish, Mike Posey, and Billy O'Connell. At the same time, the grassroots in Huntington Beach voted for Eric Peterson. Eric Peterson was elected with $2 per vote versus $22 per vote for the Chamber 3. In 2016, Patrick Brendan, who was the head of the Chamber of Commerce and also the originator of their political action committee, directed the spending for his election from the PAC of the chamber, and also the police union or police officers association spent money to have him elected and also to keep Ron Sterud off the Huntington Beach City Council. In 2018, Mike Posey and Barbara Dalglish took union money and Chamber of Commerce money to win. Mike Posey got first, Barbara Dalglish second, Kim Carr came in third. This is where it gets interesting. Kim Carr was a complete unknown in town. She had worked on a board for a number of years. Nobody knew who she was. So, rule of thumb, nobody wins their first election. So this tells you her winning and also coming in third in front of an incumbent, which was Eric Peterson, tells you some shenanigans happened there, and we'll go into detail with that later. On the same election, the Police Officers Association, the POA, once again spent $350,000 to keep Eric Peterson and Ron Sterud off the council. They were successful with Ron, but not with Eric. In 2020, Natalie Mosier and Dan Kalmick were installed by the POA and the fire unions with nearly $500,000 of donations. Tito Ortiz, of course, got the most grassroots numbers ever, and then 4th place was followed by a grassroots candidate, Gracie Vandermark. So when Kim Carr was elected, she was the beneficiary of what is called ballot harvesting. This is the year that Orange County, quote unquote, turned blue. What happened with that was the Democratic National Committee spent $32 million to pay walkers to go to people's homes to pick their ballots up. And they specifically went after people who never vote, which are the 18 to 25-year-olds. So they went to their doors and harvested 250,000 votes that would have not been in the election. Kim Carr was elected because of that. Mike Posey, Barbara Dalglish have benefited from millions of dollars of chambers of commerce, union money, and developer money. And as we spoke of earlier, Dan Kalmick, who was a 4-time loser electorally, took nearly $300,000 of police and other union money to get elected. Natalie Mosier, a complete unknown who had only worked on the Human Relations Task Force, took $250,000 of fire union money and was elected. So at this very moment, these 5 people control Huntington Beach with their vote. They are all special interest candidates that do not represent the will of the people. So this is going to be shocking for a lot of folks who have never heard this. There is a group called Emerge California. They are a training group that trains women only to become political operatives. It was started 19 years ago by Kamala Harris. It is a 7-month radical progressive training program. So you might take a weekend course in any subject of your choosing. This is a 7-month vocational level training. And what that means is this is job training. This is on the job training. This is something for people who want to become politicians and are leaving their old life behind. They have trained 4,000 women. 700 of them are currently in office. Neither Kim Carr or Natalie Mosier acknowledged this training when they were running. So not sure why they want to hide this other than the public would react poorly to this type of thing. So you see where Emerge was congratulating Kamala Harris becoming vice president. So this is the most influential group you've never heard of. The mayor of Irvine is a graduate. There are 2 of them on the Costa Mesa City Council. There's one on Tustin. They are everywhere, and they are the most radical people, left-wing radicals, that we've ever seen. Emerge California graduates equal bad politicians. Our Lieutenant Governor, Eleni Kounalakis, is a graduate. She may become the governor if Newsom steps down. This is a real possibility. The mayor of San Francisco is one. The mayor of Oakland is one. Both of their cities are experiencing massive increases of crime and defunding of police there. The woman named Candy Tabaka on the Denver City Council is an open communist. Quote, I believe in community ownership of land, labor, resources, and distribution of those, and I'm excited to usher it in by any means necessary. So who really controls Huntington Beach right now? His name is Sergeant Yasha Nikitin. He is the POA, Police Officers Association Union President. He is a disgraced sergeant that harassed a gay cop. That cop successfully sued Huntington Beach for $2 million. They brought in Sergeant Nikitin after the failure of trying to get rid of Chief Handy. They brought him in because he plays rough, obviously. He then spent $350,000 of union money to defame Eric Peterson and Ron Sterod in the 2018 election.
Councilmember Kalmick.
I had a meeting with the HB Teamsters and HB POA.
Thank you. Councilmember Posey.
Yes, meeting also with the POA.
Councilmember Moser.
Thank you, Mayor Carr. I also met with the POA.
I also met with the POA, and
This is who controls our town and our council at this very moment. So how do unions take over your town? So obviously taxpayers pay for all city employees, taxpayers pay for everything. Government employees are allowed to unionize. The money paid by the taxpayer to government employees is extracted by their unions to purchase politicians and elections. And we've detailed that, how they've done that on the City Council of Huntington Beach. These politicians do the bidding of the unions. Therefore, the taxpayers' own money is being weaponized against their best interests. Remember, unions are not the men and women who serve. They are political organizations and should be treated as such. This means you will get into arguments with people out in public when you fight against unions. You have to make the determination in your mind. The unions are a political entity that is separate from the people who serve. They are completely different. Unions are organizations that want power and control. The people that serve are good men and women. We celebrate them and we lift them up, we support them. We do not, however, support the unions that are able to use the money and clout they have to take over our politics in town. So the Huntington Beach Council voting record since they were sat in December of 2020. First and foremost, they halted Michael Gates, our city attorney, from fighting the state's forcing of 13,000 new high-density units. The dirty secret of that: the more housing units we have, the more mandated union employees, cops and fire, predominantly and most expensively amongst them. So this is written into the rules. The more beds we have, the more cops we need. So this is a simple metric here for people to understand why they stopped our city attorney from fighting this lawsuit. Huntington Beach people, Huntington Beach citizens uniformly loathe high density housing, and they understand the forcing of it is simply criminal, the way this has gone about and been forced on the town. So the fact that they have stopped this, stopped our city attorney from fighting this, is in and of itself a firing offense. Immediately upon being sat, they had a special meeting where they voted in a thing called Community Choice Energy. This takes control of Huntington Beach's energy business from Southern California Edison. Now, we've had a number of these in the state very recently fail because, and the city council and the previous city councils have been warned 3 different times this was going to bankrupt the town. Nobody in office has any experience in the power business. The problem with this is the Huntington Beach City Council, through their larger group called Orange County Power Authority, will be able to increase your power rates whenever the union wants a raise. So the unions will look at them, because this is all city council people on the executive board, and they'll say, we need a raise, and they're magically your power bill will see an increase of it. They will be able to do this with no oversight from the state at all. So this last year with COVID, this City Hall was locked to all citizens, depriving us of access to services and in-person redress of grievances. The question is, what were they doing behind closed doors for an entire year? They also condemned non-existent quote unquote hate in Huntington Beach. The LGBTQ flag was raised, and Councilman Ortiz brought a measure to raise the Huntington Beach police flag. This was denied at the same time. So the agenda from last week, the danger there was Council Member Mosier's number 18, a recommendation to begin a citywide sustainability master plan. So the public should know that sustainability is code for social engineering. It's an empty box filled with good sounding bad ideas. It's the Green New Deal and other political scams rolled into one. Equity, as you see there in the yellow box, is code for redistribution of money and resources so that politicians can stay in power. It's a very simple equation there. Elevation of equity. They're telling you point blank, they are going to redistribute your tax money to people to stay in office, to get votes. That's all this is. So you see here, single family homes next to a huge apartment building. The state of California and many cities have been trying to get rid of what's called single family zoning. They want a developer to be able to buy the house next to yours and build a 4-plex or a 6-plex with no parking requirements. So again, the thing to really understand about sustainability is it is the marriage of the radical green progressive left and the Chamber of Commerce or big business interests like developers. So these two groups get together, and under the guise of an environmentalism, or however you'd want to call sustainability, all their pet projects are brought forward. Both groups work against the public interest, using the fiction of sustainability to profit, fool the public, and stay in office. Sustainability calls for high density development and the removal of single family zoning, which is why they stopped City Attorney Michael Gates from fighting the SCAG lawsuit. So it's very, very important to understand how our local media colludes with the politicians. So this was a recent article from last week about how Huntington Beach is developing a sustainability plan as, quote, local experts warn of climate crisis. Well, the local expert is a woman named Kathleen Tressiter, a biology professor at UCI. She is also a 2020 graduate of Emerge California and was in Natalie Mosier's graduation class. Ms. Tressiter had previously come to the council to agitate for environmental policies. She is also currently a candidate for Irvine City Council in 2022. So you see how instead of going to somebody who's a legitimate expert or an opposite point of view, they go to somebody that's not only a toady or a crony of these ideas, but somebody who is working with this terrible group Emerge.
For so long, our movement towards a sustainable future has been divided with really just this false notion that we have to choose between our planet and our economy. And we decided to come together in sweeping legislation that not only rejects that notion, but creates a plan for 20 million union jobs in the United States of America, to rebuild our infrastructure, to restore public housing, to make sure that we expand our access not only to EV and EV infrastructure, but mass transit. Everything from coast to coast chargers to making sure that we have an Amtrak, a resilient Amtrak infrastructure to the New York City subway system. It is going to be an all hands on deck approach, and we refuse to leave any community behind in the process. The fight for a Green New Deal starts in public housing. First thing that we're going to do, the overall goal is a massive plan to decarbonize our public housing stock. What that means is that we got to put a lot of people to work. A lot of people to work. Because this is a big job. So what this plan does is that it creates hundreds of thousands of jobs in the United States in order to decarbonize our public housing stock. And who's going to get those jobs? Public housing residents. And what it also does, again, all of these things create work and it revitalizes economic life, and the preference for who gets to run it and who gets to work in it are public housing residents.
You hear it in plain English there, folks. They're putting in public housing, they're giving it to union employees, and those folks are going to run everything. I don't think she minced any words there. LA just floated a plan to add 500,000 housing units in 8 years. 200,000 of those units would be earmarked for low-income residents in a proposal that City Council is set to consider. This is the quote from the Director of Planning, Vince Bertoni. This plan, our plan to house LA, was designed with our residents in mind, especially those who have been disenfranchised, excluded, and left without housing because of wide wealth gaps and a lack of affordable units. So this is equity. Again, equity is redistribution. This is taking the public's money and giving it away in exchange for votes. So to review, the Huntington Beach City Council has been taken over by professional political operatives whose ideological and moneyed interests do not represent the people of our city. The citizens of Huntington Beach are overwhelmingly center right. The leadership of Huntington Beach is far left. This is unsustainable. The people of Huntington Beach must mobilize to stop these deceptive politicians and elect citizen politicians that represent the will and interests of residents. Remember, the city exists for the citizens, not politicians or their special interests. Currently, the citizens only have one representative on City Council, and that is Eric Peterson, and he is outvoted 5-1. We need to send the City Council this coming Monday a message to honor the vote. So on 19th of July, in private, the City Council is going to be conferring to appoint the replacement for Tito Ortiz. Gracie Vandermark is the first runner-up based on votes. That seat is hers based on democracy. The fact that the City Council has the ability to appoint shouldn't give them the right to appoint somebody different. This is Gracie Vandermark's seat. She is a non-special interest candidate. They are scared to death of her and what she might do on city council. So our folks on city council believe in elections until they're elected, and then their opinions seem to diverge wildly. This is Councilman Kalmick from the LA Times from last month. The voice of the people isn't heard with a fourth place vote. That's not what the people voted for. Well, it's fair to ask what exactly they did vote for. Dan Kalmick ran for office 4 times, and it finally took $258,000 of special interest money to get him elected in 2020. The police officers union gave him $200,000, the sheriff's $23,000, fire department $33,000, and the Orange County Democrats only $4,000. So it's pretty disingenuous for Councilman Kalmick to tell us all that that's not what those 23,000 people voted for when they voted for Gracie Vandermark. This is Gina Clayton Tarvin. Many of us in Huntington Beach know her and what a terrible representative she's been. She's an absolute cancer in this town. In 2016, somebody she wanted to be on the school board of Ocean View didn't win, but then there was somebody that bowed out, and she was all for appointing her. Her name was Patricia Singer. Now in 2020, when it's Gracie Vandermark, somebody she opposes, she said they may appoint whomever they wish. The next highest vote getter is irrelevant. So this person is saying she's running for city council in 22. This one must be opposed at all levels. She will be a terrible council person. Okay, that's all we have for you for now, folks. We have to oppose the sustainability plan and tell the city council they must appoint Gracie Vandermark. So we'll look forward to the next agenda update. Until then.
I still believe through the shame and through the grief, through the heartache, through the tears, through the waiting, through the years. For people like us in places like this, we need all the hope